Hello, future bestsellers. We are super, super glad to see you here today. I am back from vacation. Robert's been working up a storm, and we don't know where Michelle is. So hopefully she is okay. I don't know. I didn't hear from her this morning. So fingers crossed, everything's great with Michelle and Rosa. So yeah, all right. So I literally just like rolled in here just a minute beforehand because my brain is still on vacation time and I'm trying to extend that feeling as much as possible. Like,
Which
right?
is
Just
wonderful. My
yeah.
brain is on heat wave time, so it's moving a little slower than usual.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. It's the whole heat dome thing is insane. Where like it's really hot. And we were uh we were staying at the beach, which was beautiful. But you have like that ocean air all the time right on you, and so it didn't feel as bad. And boy, the second we were driving, it was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, let's say hi to our friends. Look, it's you, story detective. Yes, you were actually first. I rolled in so late, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. Horror Geek is here. Hello. You're the non first, right? And ladies here. Yay! We're super glad, very, very glad to see you today. So yeah, I have not worked all week really. Like I've done a few little things. I have some Facebook ads running, so I sort of checked in on stuff like that. But for the most part, nothing, which has been so incredibly nice because I really, really needed it. Barry's here. Hello. Welcome. Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it. So so let's go ahead and get started right away with a 5-minute warm-up sprint, and hopefully that will get everybody's brains in gear for our upcoming writing sprints, and we'll talk about what everybody's working on, all that good stuff. All right, let's see. Oh, I forgot they changed all the little icons at the
Yeah.
bottom of. Now I have to remember how to do it. Okay. All right, everybody. We are going to get started with our first 5-minute warm up sprint. So you can get your document open, get your vat of caffeine, and all that other good stuff. And let's get started. Here we go. Starting in 3. All right, we are back. Let me just get rid of this screen. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So, what are you working on today?
I'm working on Client Work, which is a novella, which is tricky due to size and brevity.
It is. I admire people who write novellas. But I think I would find them challenging as a writer to pare things down that much, and I don't super enjoy them as a reader. So I don't know. Do you read novellas like in your everyday reading life? Like,
I don't read a lot. I have
yeah,
read a few that are done really well, but it does take a certain type of story. And if you have a lot of characters, it's really hard. This
yeah.
one has one main character. It's a future world where humans are pretty much defunct. So he has room to build on the character. And, that's one of the things that he needs to build up a little bit, I think. But overall, his story is good. I'm just worried about whether it needs to be a little bit longer, if longer is better for a novella, because they're going to be tricky to sell to begin with. So
Nice. All right. Well, that's interesting. If anybody has any experience with novellas, I would love to hear your opinions. Look, we've got folks dropping in. Super excited to see you, Devin. Hello. Very glad to see you. Mama Ward is here. Hello. Very nice to see everybody. Daisy's here. Hi, Daisy. Super glad to see you today. Lainey is working on procrastinating revisions as per usual. I too have revisions. Remember like a month ago when I'm like, oh yeah, I finished my hockey novel. Yeah, I have not gone back to it yet to do the funny pass. I just started it and then nothing for weeks. Happy National Cheesecake Day. I think I will make some cheesecake filled cinnamon rolls for brunch. That sounds so good.
yeah,
So good. Ooh, Mary says, got some new smart glasses listening to you in my head. That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
that's
really awesome. Are they the ones where you like see video? Like, are we here? Or are you just hearing us while your glasses are just doing regular glasses things? I'm curious minds, and all that. I don't even know what I'm going to work on today. I literally just slid right from vacation into this live stream, and so my brain is like not re-engaged yet. I was just starting to make like a list of all the things that I need to get going on, but primary among them is to start working on that funny pass of Cold Feet. So you're going to be working on client stuff. Lainey's going to be doing revisions. I'm going to be making a giant to-do list for all the stuff I need to get going on this week. What are you guys going to be doing during the sprint today? Let us know in the chat. Daisy says, I've noticed that sci-fi, fantasy, trad pubs publish novellas a lot without telling anyone. I've gotten a few novels that were weirdly short. Okay, can I say something? Before the stream, Robert and I were talking about this, and I said I had a book marketing client who had written a police procedural novella. And it was like a one room kind of thing, like an interrogation room kind of thing. But it's like it had enough depth where it really sort of read like a novel, even though it was super short. And it's also really hard to market a novella because a lot of people just are like, oh, I don't read novellas, myself included. I almost never read novellas unless someone says you must read this. I don't read it. And so I just did it, and for the most part people reviewed it like it was a normal mystery title. There were a couple of people that were like, it was a little on the short side, but I still enjoyed it. But it wasn't like, it worked pretty well to do that. I know there are people who love novellas. I am just not one of them, and I always feel like dreadfully out of my depth when talking about them.
yeah. I've noticed the same thing as Daisy. They publish things. They don't seem to be widely published or widely publicized. If they're really good, they market them as short novels. but
Right.
short means somewhere around 150 pages or between that and 200 pages. And then they'll market it like, wow, this is a great award-winning short novel, but it's really just a novella.
Right. Right. What whatever we need to do. Well, and sometimes people just change how they talk about things. Maybe it's the readers who are confused about what the definition of a novel is, and so short novel just feels most accurate in the way that they, talk about it with their friends. And who knows, maybe the fact that the novella is short is part of the appeal for people who like to read novellas because they take, less time. I definitely see a shortening of like romance titles where, it used to be a rom-com was 75 to 80,000 words, and now I see authors doing them like, and they're calling them full length at like 55 to 60,000, which, let me say, I tried to do, I think, with my last novel, and it just came, I wrote traditional for so long that like it doesn't matter what I attempt to do, it comes out typically between 75 and 80. But anyway, so but people do that so that they can write more novels, and a lot of times those shorter novels are in a series. But yeah, I maybe it's just that readers have less attention than they did previously, and there you go. Okay.
They
Uh,
seem to be fine
okay.
in self-published books because they can be as short as they like them to be, and they don't seem to have a problem selling a shorter novel. I think
Mm.
when it's bound and put on a shelf and people are going to pay good money for it, they want something with a little meat. And I think that's the whole idea.
Woo! That's a lot of spicy there for you first thing in the morning, Robert. I get that. I see what you're saying. Mary says that her glasses are not that smart. She mostly wants to take pictures of her grandkids doing cute stuff. Okay, there you go. I found lots of cozies that are super short. That is absolutely true. Okay, so this is interesting. Daisy says, I just wish they charged less. I always feel like I got
There
ripped
you
off
go. That's
the
it.
short one. There you go. That's it right there.
Yep.
Hello, Ecar eBooks. Greetings from Arizona. Very nice. Greetings back from Florida. I hope you guys are not roasting out there in Arizona, but I bet you are. Let's see. That said, highly recommend Monk and Robot novellas by Becky Chambers. Good to know.
Those up and see what they're all about.
Yeah. Mama says several recent books I've gotten are 40K or less. I see that. This is interesting. Mama Ward says they want a book they can listen to in a day while commuting. I think that's interesting. How are you doing with your audiobooks, Miss Ward? Let's talk about that. How are you guys doing with your audiobooks? Lainey too's got a bunch of audiobooks out. She's doing a really cool thing where she's putting them up on YouTube, and I'm dying to know how that's working for you. So let us know in the chat. All right, you guys, who's ready for a 20-minute sprint? Me. I'm not. I'm really ready to go back to the beach or go float in the pool, but I'm going to try to make a good effort today. So, you know how like sometimes you go on vacation and you feel more stressed out when you come back, and sometimes you go on vacation and it just feels like a giant reset button. That was the vacation that I just had. It was like I was so stressed. We've had so much going on. There's been so much rough stuff this summer, and we just went to the beach and drank in the pool and had strawberry daiquiris every day and laughed, and it was awesome. So, all right, let's see what we've got. Mama Ward says, I finished the first podcast series with chapters for The Moon is Waxing season 1. Very nice. Lainey says, I earn more on YouTube each month than I do on Audible. That's for darn sure. Well,
Interesting.
that right. And I think you're just doing a regular like ad model, right? Lainey, are you doing anything different? You're making more money because you're getting AdSense money from people listening to the books. Let us know.
So I was wondering if it's books they're listening to that's earning the money on YouTube for free kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think what regular and model. So she says, yes, I get AdSense money. So basically the readers get to listen to it for free, but obviously in exchange for that, they also get to see ads. And so, but if you're earning more money on If you're earning more money on YouTube than you are on Audible, that's, that's a really great way to add an extra channel.
Yeah, definitely.
I have rough cut edited out the sex scenes and it doesn't seem to matter to people. Okay, well that's good to know. Very nice. Look at you, girl. All right. Let us know if you haven't already what you're going to be working on today. We got to get Lainey working on those revisions. Speaking of which, Lainey, I have not commented on your new novel that you sent me because I have not had a chance to read it yet, which is crazy because I was just on vacation. I should have read it then and I didn't think about it till today. But I'm very excited because I've marked a little time off over the weekend where I'm going to be reading it. So yay! All right. Mama says I need to get my subscriber count up so I can get monetized. Yeah, things do change a little bit when that happens for sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our first 20 minutes in many ways. Let's go ahead and do our very first 20-minute sprint. Let me get that counter up here. All right, everybody, we'll make this big and here we go. All right, 20 minutes on the clock. Let's do some great writing today. Getting started in 3, 1. Let's do this. It'd help if I unmuted my mic. All right, let's get rid of this. There we go. So, how'd everybody do on that last sprint? Let us know in the chat how everything is going.
Well,
Yeah, I have. So, so one of the things that I came back to was one of the things that I came back to. Oh, I was just texting Lainey about this. Was a note from Hidden Gems. The guy's name is Craig, and I have had very good luck with them with reviews. And I had signed up my new hockey romance for ARC reviews, thinking it was in September, but I actually signed it up for August 2nd, and I think I managed to mention earlier in the sprint that, or earlier in the stream, that I have not worked on it for, like, that I still have a pass I need to do before it's ready to go to any sort of ARC readers. So yeah, so anyway, I'm trying to figure out like a solution to that. Um, anyway, yeah, so there's that. We have some good, interesting news today for our publishing news. Hold on, you guys ready for my new intro? Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I had too much fun on Canva one day, and that's what happened. So don't leave me alone with too much time on my hands. Okay. Plot twists and paychecks. Here we go. So I think the first cool news that that has happened is that Wattpad, which is a place a lot of indie authors start, has reached 1 billion with a B billion story uploads. And what's better about this is that they have launched something called fan-powered royalties. And so now authors are able to monetize their work, and it lets readers basically tip writers and vote on which stories should get bonus payouts. So I think that's kind of cool. Authors are going to start earning money from fiction they already wrote for fun. And I think this is, part of the creator economy shift where we're seeing platforms let fans directly reward their favorite authors or creators. So I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, have you ever put anything up on Wattpad, Robert?
I never have.
Yeah. I know a lot, but my daughter reads a ton of stuff on Wattpad. If you like fanfic, obviously that is a big home for a lot of that. And I think it's fascinating. A lot of indie authors started, built up an audience on Wattpad, and we're able to translate that over to a paying audience on other platforms. So I don't know if you have some backlists that you're like, I could do that. It might be something to consider. But it's good to know. Like it's good to know that they're thinking about it. People aren't just creating all this stuff without any sort of reward for their hard work. So this, I think, is interesting news. Google has expanded its book AI summaries. It did this very quietly, and I like, on one hand, I go, well, they stole all our content from us to make their AI. But on the other hand, I was very glad to see. So here's what's happening. You might already be showing up in AI search snippets that you don't even know about. It does give more visibility, in particular to self-published and hybrid authors, because here's what's cool. Instead of just stealing our work now, they're actually linking to the authors' websites and retailer pages if available. And while we were doing our sprint, I went over and looked to see, like, what happens if I type this in. Let's see, did I get Google? Yeah, okay. So here's what I got. If I look on AI mode and I just put in a book title and my name, I get 6 sites. I got Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Teachable, which is where my course is hosted, a link to my website, one to NetGalley, and another one to Amazon. But then I basically get like a pretty good description here that's a lot like my description page. And again, like, I guess another link from NetGalley and another one from Amazon. But overall, I think it did a pretty good job. I'm really curious about where it takes me if I ask that. Let's see. Interesting. Oh, so this is kind of, well, oh, look, here I am again. What? Okay. So this isn't like, this feels like, oh, this might actually help. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. You know how it is, guys. It's like a double-edged sword. We're like, okay, that's kind of cool, but also I know what you did last summer. All right. So so at least at least they're linking to us now. So I guess that's better rather than just scraping everything off and pretending like they wrote it. Okay. Number 3 on our big list today, Romantasy ruling the bestseller charts again. July's book scan data so far looking good. Romantasy is holding multiple top spots across print, ebook, and audiobook categories, led by Indian hybrid authors, multiple of those from TikTok fandoms. So I think it's kind of cool. Subgenres like romantasy, spicy fantasy, cozy dark academia are seeing like more sustained demand, not just, everybody's on this on TikTok for a day and then it's over. And I think this is interesting. Traditional publishers are now sort of looking for backlist titles in those specific genres to acquire. And I think that's really interesting. A lot of times we get the question, we just got like a weird audio thing, and I apologize. I don't know where it came from. We just got to, we get the question on a really regular basis about, are you going to ruin your chances for for traditional publishing if you self-publish your title first? And the thing we always say, and we'll say again today, is absolutely not. They are actively looking for, excuse me, indie published titles that are doing well so that they can scoop them up into their little TradPub ecosystem. And because they figure if you can sell them without all of their institutional knowledge, that they could probably do a better job. And as a person who has been traditionally published and indie published and worked for a trad publisher, I will tell you that is debatable. Sometimes they can do a better job. It is nice not to outlay all the money for covers and editing and all that other stuff, but sometimes they don't do a better job. So yeah, so keep
And
that in mind.
whose hands it falls into, and it's like playing lottery.
Yes, right. It really depends on, there are a million different factors. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. One of the things when we were talking, oh, sorry, and I meant to say this with the Google AI summaries, you want to make sure that your website's SEO, your books metadata, meaning, the things where you decide like what category your book's going to be in, the BISAC, the official, all the stuff that you would input into Bowker, which is where you get your ISBNs. All of that is important and part of what is bringing AI is using to do those. So make sure all that information for your books is tight. Okay. This news I thought was very cool. Oh, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
News. I have a little news at the end. It's not necessarily current news, but it might be helpful news.
Well, helpful news is good. And as we are not officially a news program, despite our awesome graphics, we'll take good news, reasonable news, recently happened news. We have different journalistic standards here. Okay. So this I thought was really cool. The New York Public Library. What? That's like the Library of Dreams, right? They are starting to add indie titles through their partnership with bookshop.org, which is really cool. They're going to be adding a new collection of indie books to their digital catalog via bookshop.org, focused primarily on debut authors and underrepresented authors. And I love that. Love, 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 love. This is going to give you really high profile library exposure, plus bookshop sales, more readers, more revenue. Yay, 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 yay. So good news on that. Mm-hmm. And then we had talked earlier, right, about about novellas. And I think this is interesting. Mama Word said this, and it's right on the money. Audio book sales are rising. They've risen 11% in quarter two, which is incredible. But here are the titles that are doing really well. Shorter titles. What? The strongest gains are under 6 hours and fiction with serious potential. So bite-sized audio is winning. Novellas, short nonfiction, serialized memoirs, indie authors with shorter backlist titles can break in without a massive production budget. Of course, we know that. So fantastic. I'm super, super excited about that. All right. What's your news?
Well, it might be old news for some people, but I discovered an editing book that's actually worthwhile. It's been out for 15 years, so maybe everybody already.
You know what? It's new news to us. Oh, yeah.
Why did I ignore it? Because of this graph with the peak that goes down. I've seen those graphs, and they usually kind of confuse people, saying, your story peaks and then everything is like a downslide. I'm like, people could really misunderstand that.
Right.
So I put this book off, but not having anything to read, I said, I guess I'll try it. And I got the audio version because that's my test market.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this actually hits on almost everything for editing that you could want to know. Granted, some of it's in brief, but it's a really good book.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's The Story Grid by Sean Coyne.
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. I have that book on my shelf somewhere, I believe. I know I read it, but I read it a long, long time ago. So it might be good to,
it's slightly different than what I would do. Everybody lays things out a little bit different, but everything that, like he said, the good editors know is in here. And he breaks down Silence of the Lambs and uses it as an example for everything in the book, which is really nice to have. All those graphs and charts. So if you're into story analytics, good book.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. So Daisy says, nice intro. She likes our so thank you very much. We love that. Mama Word, oh no, can you reset the release date for the Hidden Gems or will you be penalized? So normally you can, because there's so many romance authors, you can just say like, hey, I'm not ready yet. But because I'm cutting it really short, I don't know if I can do that or not. Like, that's really tight. So I'm going to reach out to him today. He's a super nice guy. But I was trying to think of like a backup plan. Like, what can I offer him instead? So we'll see. Very nice. Wattpad also has paid chapters. All right. So very nice. So this is interesting. Radish is shutting down too. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about that. I know a lot of authors who in the beginning made a ton of money off of Radish. And then I know a lot of authors where, they changed things. They were not particularly transparent in some ways. And a lot of authors got kind of not happy about that. So I think that happens with a lot of those sort of serial models where you pay in tokens or coins to read a little more. But, who knows? I have 2 Wattpad profiles, one for Relic of Time Wars and one for my other stuff. I use Wattpad for alpha beta readers. Nice. Google is stalking us 24 hours a day. I think the key there is doing well for self-pub titles. Absolutely. Yeah, right? I know. So audiobooks, way up.
I should have said nothing on hand that's craft worthy to read. I've gotten really with craft because I was gobbling up everything, but it's all like the same book that they keep churning out over and over again. So unless I get a recommendation or hear there's something that adds something new or is a really good book, I've gotten more selective in my choices.
I feel that I just read a book that I was pitched for the While You Were Reading podcast by an author who is Alexa Martin. And I have never read her work before, which I don't know why. Apparently she's a big author, but I'd never read her stuff before. And I just read the arc of How to Sell a Love Story, which is about a kindergarten teacher who gets mixed up in like one of those multi-level marketing makeup companies. Mm-hmm. And her boss, the principal of her school, is like the person that kind of brings her into it. Then she meets a guy who, anyway, so it was great. And apparently when I went on, like I went midway through the book and I said, and I believe it is out now, I was a little late getting to it. When I reached out like midway through the book and messaged the author and was like, oh my God, I'm loving this book and it's fantastic. So I go over to her Instagram page because I figure I will follow her. She seems awesome. We had a lot in like I had a lot in common with character in her the main character of the book. It takes place in Denver. I used to live in Denver, so like I felt very connected to the book. So I send off this message. I go check out her Instagram page, and it turns out she's a WAG of a professional football player. WAG is wives and girlfriends. So for anybody who writes sports romance, you guys already know that. I think the rest of the world probably isn't as familiar. And so she's a real life WAG, which is interesting. But apparently she manifested Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting together, which there was a big article about it in Vanity Fair. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like I have never heard of her. I loved her writing, but I think her life in general is kind of cool. So there you go. Kind of fascinating to me. It just you have to know she just hit on a bunch of stuff that I love. So okay. Mama Ward says looking up the Google AA stuff about Relic of Time War series, and it's pretty accurate about the story arc and characters. I thought it was fascinating that it pulled from NetGalley because that's like a good collection of reviews. Like typically you'll get some like professional reviewers that maybe work for a media outlet, but you also get consumer reviewers who write for Goodreads and Amazon. And so it's a nice cross section of what people in general think about the book. And so I think that, a lot of times AI is pulling from bad information. And I think NetGalley is actually pretty good. NetGalley, Goodreads, et cetera, is actually some good info. So yeah. So that was it. So that is all the excitement happening in the world for us. I did think it was interesting that one of the things that came up a couple of times regarding both AI and the library system, New York library system, beginning to carry indie published. I mean, they do carry some indie published books, but this is like a real program to reach out, which I think is fantastic, and which is why they're awesome. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is both times this idea of clean metadata was referenced in the articles that I was reading about these things happening. And I think that's really interesting that has become so much more important. And clean metadata just basically means that when you register your ISBN, that you have put your book in the correct BISAC categories, that you've got keywords, that the name on the front of your cover matches the name in the record, and the same thing with the title, et cetera. And so I think that weirdly that has become more important in where we are right now. So
yeah, I've had some debates about AI with people lately, and I don't know. I know that artists, every community in the arts is against AI because of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So there's people out there that are posting things like, here's what I got from AI, and there's this fantastic, epic science fiction cover. Here's what I got when I commissioned a real artist, and that they did it for a reason to say AI is better because it looks like a young adult cartoon cover at best, and it's like, here's the comparison between the two. Artists can't match the detail that AI gives you.
That's not true. AI has that detail because it came from art. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly. It's like, I asked 3 artists that they could match the detail on what I got from this AI layout, and they said they couldn't. I said, that's because you're offering them a certain amount of money and they're going to give you a certain amount of detail. It's not that they can't match it. And I don't know why
they're not going to do it for $5 on Fiverr.
Exactly. Yeah. They need to do more crowdfunding and get some money together to buy a cover, support the community that they're trying to enter. Because I'm like, if you have AI on the outside of your book, they're going to wonder how much AI went on the inside. And a lot of people are just going to pass that. And especially for a first-time novel.
Right. And especially right now when AI books are absolutely flooding Amazon. Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right, let's do another sprint, everybody. Let me get my timer all set up here. All right, here we go. All right, who's ready for another 20 minutes? I know I am. All
Yep.
right, everybody, let's get started. We're going to go in 3, Sorry about that. I like scrolled down and I couldn't get rid of the mute. Anyway, how's everybody doing on that last sprint? How'd everybody do?
Good. Lots of notes.
Good. Fantastic. I realized I do know where Michelle is. She is visiting her family in Seattle. So so when I was earlier, I was like, where's Michelle? I didn't hear from her. That's why she's on vacation. So anyway, yeah, so fantastic. I know I thought I better check just to make sure she's okay. So good. So it went well. Very
Oops. I'm here on my own. Okay. So, what did everybody get done on the last sprint?
hi.
Hey.
No idea where I just went. It just stopped. Like that was it. So apologies if I interrupted. Brunch is in the oven and then she's heading out for brunch. So there's that.
Yeah, brunch sounds good.
There, yeah, that would be me. So remember 2 weeks ago, I talked about how I just read a study that showed that how much A plus content. Well, two things. I have two updates. The first was A plus content. If you add it to your Amazon, can account for a nice increase in sales. I had I think said like I think when I said it, I said 20 to 80. It's actually 8 to 20. And I after the stream, I was like, did I say 20 to 80% increase? That's a lot. And I went back and looked, and yes, I'd written it down wrong. So I apologize. So, but still 8 to 20%, like a 20% increase, that's one more sale every time you sell 5 books, which is kind of awesome. And then I think when I told you guys that, I also said that I had just done A plus content for Write a Self-Help Book, which is very easy to do on Canva. And but that I had put it through, and it's been a while since I did A plus content for a nonfiction book. And so I had included some reviews that you're not supposed to include, which typically they reject them and then you have to take that kind of stuff out. But I sent it through and then realized like, oh, I shouldn't have put that in there. And it did not get kicked back. It went up. I just looked. It was live because I was like, "Where's that email from Amazon that is surely in my inbox after my vacation?" But no, they just put it on through. So there you go. Perhaps that's what happens when you cut 10% of your book staff. I'm I'm sorry for the fine folks at Amazon who lost their jobs, but I will say that I'm glad that my A plus content snuck through because I was really like, what am I going to put on that third panel? Anyway, very nice. Look who's here. Sarah's here. Joined late, but got about 500 words in. Very nice. Good to see all of you today. Barry says Amazon is not so consistent. Be persistent. This is absolutely true. This is one of the things that Mary has been working to upload all of Dave's titles that were traditionally published, and now they're indie publishing them. And so she's had a lot of interaction with Amazon recently. And that's the truth. If you get an answer that you really don't like, you can usually just wait it out for a while and re-ask someone else, and you sometimes will get a different answer. So anyway, there you go.
Good
All right. Yeah, very, very good to know. All right, well, let's try and get another sprint on the books before we do anything else. Let me go ahead and get that rolling. Very nice. There we go. Okay. All right, you guys, we've got 20 minutes on the clock coming up, and we're going to write some words, make it happen today. All right, everybody, getting started in 3, 1. All right, we are back. How did everybody do in that last chat last sprint? Let us know in the chat. Let me get rid of this banner. Dun, da, da. I don't know where it went. There it goes. Okay. So, how'd you do, Robert?
I did pretty well. I think I finished up the cover analogy of my notes.
Very nice. Very nice. Fantastic. That's always great to do. Let us know, you guys, in the chat how you're doing. Let's see. Mary says if Mama says no, ask Papa. We were talking about how if you just delay asking Amazon for something, KDP for something, that often you'll get a different answer the second time. Cool Gamers here today. Hello. We are super glad to see you today. I did have a question that somebody had sent in, and I thought it was a good one. How do you write to market if you don't know what the trends are? Kind of an interesting question. So, is there anybody here who doesn't know what writing to market is? It basically is just, if you're a fast writer, if you're particularly prolific, that you look at the trends that are selling best and write to that. So if mafia romance is really big, then you're going to write that. And then when that dies down and suddenly, I don't know, well, like romantasy, right? So if maybe you normally write mysteries and now you're going to jump into a specific form of romantasy that's doing really well, something like that. So the answer to that, I think, is to just look at what's trending on Amazon. If you look at fiction and see what the top 100 titles or so are, you can generally get a pretty good picture as to what is selling particularly well. There's also a guy named Alex Newton who does a report on a regular basis called K-Lytics, where he just has been, I don't know, it's probably been a decade. He has been deep diving into sales data on Amazon, and he sends out an email pretty regularly, about once a month, where he talks about some new deep dive they've taken into a specific subgenre, and it's fascinating stuff to read. And then you can buy the deep dive into the trend report if it's something that you're particularly interested in. But I'm just always fascinated to see like what's hot right now, what's moving, what's this, what's that. So anyway, so that's it. That would be my answer. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Robert?
My thoughts are still kind of wrapped up in a jumble of the debate that I'm going here with AI. So I'm a little scattered with my thoughts. I'm a little annoyed with the fact that people are telling me nobody cares about art. They just care about the appearance. Artists are being lost. And I'm like, good Lord.
I know, that's just enough to just, I know. I feel your pain, Robert. I really do. I really do. Sarah says, didn't get to count the words I was writing all over my outline, but I worked on my actual book. Yay! That's awesome. Fantastic, Sarah. We are super excited about that. Daisy says, I always like the term pitch to market. Your dystopian is pitched as a sci-fi thriller, etc. I think that can be really, really effective, especially for books in your backlist. If there's something that's becoming popular and you have those elements in a book you wrote a long time ago, or just a year ago or whatever, you want to pitch that to readers and to the media as the market. That said, you don't want to pretend like your book, you don't want to pretend like your book is something it's not. I often will have people say like, oh, I'm going to pitch this as a romance, even though it just has a romantic subplot. And if romance readers do not get their happily ever after or happy for now, they will come to your house with torches. They will not be happy. Not happy at all. You don't want to you never want to do a bait and switch with the reader. So if it works and you can kind of be true to that, great. And if not, obviously, you don't want to do that. I didn't know what writing the market was. That's so cool. Fantastic. Yeah, it's a great, here's the thing. If you sell books that people are already if you can market your book in a genre or subgenre that people are already really looking for, that helps sell a lot more books. It's kind of amazing. So there you
Yeah,
go.
I think, getting my heads out of the cloud after reading this email that I just got. um, yeah, I think we're always writing to market to some degree. It's how we really do what we do and finesse it to
Yeah.
the market, because we don't want to write to market and be completely on par with trends, because I don't think trends are lasting. And when trends are done, then so is your book.
Well, that's what they're doing. They ride each trend wave, and then as soon as that starts to peter out, they jump on the next one. So you've got maybe one, let's say, I don't know. Let's say that suddenly rugby romance, like our favorite friend, one of our favorite friends here on the stream, Lainey Davis, has a rugby romance series. Well, what, like, sports romance has been pretty popular. So now let's say all of a sudden rugby romance is like the hot thing. So if you're a right to market writer, you would essentially go, oh, I see that rugby romances are
Mhm.
trending up. And so I'm going to crank out, 3 or 4 of those this year while it's really hot. And then as some other, okay, now the market is saturated with rugby romances and all the readers come over here, and now they're, I don't know, maybe doing agent romances or some other thing like that. And that basically you just jump on those trends as early as you can, knock out a series or a few books, and then move on to the next big thing that's selling. I do know a number of authors that make a pretty good living that way. I don't know if it's for me. Like mafia romance, like dark mafia romance has been popular for a couple of years. Bully romance was popular a couple of years ago. I think that's starting to wane a bit. But those are not the types of books that I would enjoy reading, and they're not really the types of books that I would enjoy writing. So,
I don't know if it would be for me either, but I can see that working
oh
well
yeah,
for published authors, because trends aren't as important. There's not as many boxes to be trapped in.
right,
Like traditional publishers, you write a trend with them, you're in the trend box, and when that's done, the box is dumped.
forever, right,
But
yeah.
when you're self-publishing, you're more fluid. You can be that multi-level genre kind of person, and I think if you want to do that, that's probably the route to go, because you have just more space, more fluidity.
I think there's something very, very true to that. And I will say I know a lot of authors who write to market, and the thing is, in order to write to market, one thing I think you really have to be is prolific. You got to spot those trends and jump on and get out to the next one.
Mhm.
Make your money while you can. And I think if you're a person who has a lot of different interests and feels comfortable writing in a lot of different genres, I think that can be like absolutely fantastic. And there's some authors who are like, oh, I'd never want to write in a series because I'd get too bored. That's actually kind of a good, if you're that kind of author and you could knock out, 3 books, 5 books in a particular subgenre and then hop on to something else that's
Mhm.
completely different, you know, that can be a very good way to write. I will say when I first started my career as a writer, I worked in advertising. And one of the things I loved about that was that I was not working on the same thing every day. I like today it's golf spikes and tomorrow it's, some
Mhm.
energy drink or whatever. And so, or tourism or whatever it was. And I think there's something super cool about that. Daisy says, your lumberjack mafia, hockey playing millionaire bully romantic lead would cover a lot of ground. Yeah, it would.
Yeah. It
That's
can
it.
be interesting to do, multiple things. You're not going to get bored as easily. And I think if you're writing a series or a trilogy, that would be the way to go, because you would have a larger story to get done quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be,
Yeah.
I
I
could
know.
see
I
it.
think like people who do trilogies, like either, do 3, 4, 5, depending on how fast they write and how strong the trend's been growing, or going. I see it every year when I go to NINC. They just like, oh, 2 years ago they were writing this. And I will say one of the other things I've noticed is that we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that Christian romance, if this is something that you're interested in writing, is having a good year this year. So again, that's not like I've worked myself up finally to making my books smuttier. I couldn't go back. So those books tend to be clean and sweet. So anyway, all right. And I just, I don't, no offense to anyone. That would not be a good match for me at all. Anyway, because, I like a little action in the books. Anything else that we want to cover today before we go? We've only got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think we
I don't know. I think that's good. I think the trends, if it speaks to you, then it would be interesting too. Then you'd have more inclination to do it. So
yeah.
I'll never say never because I don't know.
Right, that's true. I was just thinking about Daisy's lumberjack mafia hockey playing millionaire bully romantic lead. And I think that would be a crazy, crazy book to write. I'm just thinking like the thing is you could actually I could see how all of these work. Oh, I can't highlight. I could see how it all worked together except the lumberjack. That would be the heart. Like I could make mafia hockey playing millionaire bully and obviously romance. I can make all that work, but the lumberjack would throw me off. Maybe he could just wear a lot of plaid on his off day. I don't know. I'm not a lumberjack lover. I mean, I guess they're lovely, but I'm not like that would not be the one that would get me to go, "Ooh, I've got to read that book." But I'm trying to think about what do I like about lumberjacks? I think it's the axe, the big muscles, and the plaid shirt. So there you
It could
go.
be a zany rom-com with a lot of fun
Right?
and a little bit of a crime story in there too. The lumberjack might be the love interest.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea. All right. I kind of like that. I like that very much.
Into all this, and somehow his skills as a strong lumberjack are going to play out when he meets that mafia strong arm guy.
Right. Maybe he is the mafia strong arm guy. Maybe he grew up in the mob and that, and then but he has to be a great hockey player. He goes off to college and gets drafted by the NHL, but you can't leave the family. And so he's like playing hockey professionally and, cracking some kneecaps on the weekends. Well, anyway.
I kind of like this idea.
I know. I could definitely sort of see this being a really funny I could see it being a really funny rom-com. Although the whole like mafia bully romances, those tend to be a lot darker than I would typically write. So love, love, love that. All right, you guys. I think we are just about done for today. Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel. I just realized we did no introductions whatsoever. I'm back from vacation. My brain's not working yet. Okay, Robert, tell us about you and your awesome channel.
My channel is The Story Detective, where I place various forms of storytelling under a Sherlockian lens and break down the craft for the viewer to make your journey easier. And I just remembered, I think it was Daisy who said, do some of my Lego stuff with the Sherlock, but I never got to it. Life was so busy that I just had to concentrate on client work. But
Michelle's going to want to see that. So you should hold off on until she's back anyway. So I totally get that. I totally get that. Well, thank you as always for being here. Oh, thanks, Devin. That's so sweet of you. I'm Lisa Daly, and on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. Yay! And Michelle will be back from vacation next week, and you will have all three of us for an awesome little summer writing sprint. So you guys all have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Keep those keyboards